Hello and welcome back into Tobacco Road and Abroad. My name's Gareth, joined by Admar, and it's been a while. We've been on a little bit of a hiatus. We've had a lot going on. You know, job wise, work. I'm working two jobs right now. Aiden's trying to get stuff sorted for his job. Just kind of
Mhm.
getting things in motion. There are things in motion, but we're kind of coming out the other side of it right now, and we're back with you guys, hopefully on a regular basis.
Yes. But
Yep.
in this episode, we're going to be covering the NFL, college football playoffs. Both of those are heating up. We're getting the national championship in a couple days. Very excited to see the outcome of that and start covering that. And we have a little bit of college basketball news, so it should be a nice low key episode before the rest of the sports season, the year heats up. We got UFC coming up next week. We got more basketball and hockey on the way, but it's just going to be a nice recap episode of what's been going down on the playoffs.
So with that being said, we probably have the most, at least from a social media standpoint, anticipated matchup of the year. You've got Mr. Bad Boy Carson Beck himself in Miami. You know, honestly, the perfect quarterback for them
Hmm.
going up against Mr. Perfect, Mr. I'll have her known home by nine, sir. Mr. took the Heisman Trophy to his Newman Center at Indiana, Fernando Mendoza.
Hmm.
I don't know what to think. There's a lot of buzz and a lot of comparisons, particularly with this Indiana team. There's a lot of doubt. There's a lot of faith, depending on who you talk to in this Miami team. I think it could be a toss up. I certainly know what I think is going to happen, but that's what we're here to talk about. So, Aiden, any initial thoughts leading into this game?
Well, first initial thoughts leading into this game is SEC. What happened? What happened to the football conference of it just means more? Because I'm right now the SEC is only winning in hypotheticals this year, and if I'm not mistaken, Gareth, I think like the SEC, the only time a team advanced, like an SEC team beat a non-SEC team in the college football playoff was Ole Miss beating Tulane. Every other time an SEC team advanced, it was when two SEC teams were combating each other and one of them just had to advance. Every other scenario where an SEC team was playing a non-SEC team, they were just stopped. And I don't want to make this whole conversation about the strengths of the weaknesses of the SEC. I just think it's a fun little stat line going into this national championship, considering all the narratives that have been surrounding this playoff. Because we're hearing stuff about, oh, maybe Texas should have got in. What about Vanderbilt? Like the SEC has not lived up to expectations, and I'm tired of this uh, holier than thou. SEC is the greatest conference in all of college football because if you put it under a microscope, it's not holding up right now. But anyway, I'll put that aside right now. I'm a real big fan of this Indiana team. I think they have the makings of one of the best college football teams of all time. People might be saying, "Oh, look at the matchups. Look at all the comparisons, mainly 2001 Miami and 2019 LSU." Now, I'm not going to be getting into the conversation of where I would put this Indiana team in the conversation of great teams until they actually get the deal done. They're going to have to beat Miami in a very convincing fashion for me to kind of put my whole argument together. But right now, I feel like the makings of the argument are very sound and are there. Um, this Miami team, though, is going to be a good example of the potential of a Cinderella run in the college football playoff. A lot of people saying is a team that didn't even win their conference, who has two really bad unranked losses. Do they have a legit shot of being inside the college football playoff? And they've been proving their worth. Uh, Close win against Texas A&M. Had a good matchup against Ohio State and uh, played very well against Ole Miss. This is a almost a team of destiny right now. It's a team of destiny versus a team of, I guess, dominance. Destiny versus dominance is the narrative that I'm having in this game right now. And I think in this matchup, I got the dominant factor winning. I really like the offense of Indiana. They've been proving that Fernando Mendoza is really elite. He is not just an RPO merchant. He can throw the ball in very tight areas, in different coverages, and can really produce in different areas of the game. He is very mobile. They have a really solid run game behind him, and this offense is really stacked. But also, the defense can perform very well. They were able to put Oregon on lock, not just during this playoff, but they did it earlier in the season. Oregon had the advantage, in my mind, of being the team that lost first. As I've said before, it's harder to beat a team twice in a season. And Indiana took this narrative and just absolutely demolished it. They didn't just beat Oregon, they beat Oregon by more than they did in Eugene, Oregon, in a neutral site area. This is a very, very elite and scary team, and I got Indiana winning this matchup against Miami.
I do too. When it comes to Cinderellas, I do think there can be Cinderellas in college football, but I don't think Miami's it when it comes to a team in this dominant fashion. And I know when we think of Cinderellas that have won it in college basketball, they've come up against like massively dominant teams. When you think of like NC State, like that Houston team, dominant. Other Cinderellas that they've beaten, they've under Cinderellas that have taken down the big dog. They've beaten dominant teams. I don't think these teams were dominant to the level Indiana is, and I also think in football there's just too many. In basketball, there's enough variables where you can get like a screwy result. Like it's easier to get a screwier result than football. Football, there's a lot of variables, but there's also a lot of there's something to be said for consistency in football. You know, there's a lot more room in basketball for a lot more. How do I say? Not creativity, but a lot more improvisation in basketball. Whereas football, there's kind of this rigidity of the playbook, everything. But with that being said, Miami's season's been great. I think it's awesome for the ACC that they're there. It's awesome for Miami, their culture. They've kind of been this joke for a while. Oh, big dog Miami going 6-6. Like that. That's been happening for a while. But like you said, I really like this Indiana team. Every time there's been a question, it almost feels like the next game there's been an answer. Oh, and the narrative was, this season, it's just Indiana. They have a weak schedule. Okay, then Indiana plays tough games, they win. Oh, Fernando Mendoza is just an RPO merchant. Next game, Fernando Mendoza is making throws under pressure, fitting the ball into tight windows. Oh, he can't throw the ball downfield. Next game, he's throwing 60-yard bombs back to back to back to back. And it's not just Mendoza, it's this entire team. That Indiana defense is not one I'd want to go up against. And particularly, we hear a lot about this Miami defensive line. Miami has a really strong defense, but I think their offense leaves a lot to be desired. With that being said, I'm going to have to go with Indiana on this one. Their offense and defense are sound. I'm not saying Miami doesn't have a great offense. Their offense can put up numbers, but their offense does not have that level of consistency that this Indiana team does. So I'm going with Indiana on this one. I'm taking Indiana by at least 2 or 3 scores here.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. That's a good pick. Good pick. Moving on to the NFL, Carolina Panthers are out of the first round after losing to the LA Rams. Just a quick recap of what's been going on in the NFL landscape. Wild card round had obviously Panthers losing to the Rams in a close one. We'll touch on that in a little bit more, a little while. 49ers beating the Eagles. The Bears coming back in a big way against the Packers. That was a crazy game. Patriots winning against the Chargers. Bills beating the Jaguars. Josh Allen had a really good game despite it looked like he was taking a lot of punishment in that game. And the Texans coming away from the Steelers in the fourth quarter, close game, closer than what the scoreboard says, but it got bad in that fourth quarter. Texans win huge, 30-6. Um, when it comes to games that I want to highlight in this past wild card, kind of what the implications are of the future. The Panthers, I feel like there's a bright future. There are questions with that Gareth and I have with Dave Canales. Just not questionable game management. I have questions still with Bryce Young. I think we're going to keep him for the extra year, like giving him another year. I do have questions with his arm strength, though. And this has been a narrative throughout the season for me, but um, I think the Panthers are in a better spot right now than they were last year. So that's a good sign. Panthers ended last season pretty strong, and the future was bright, and they were able to build upon that a little bit more and birth a playoff appearance. I was really happy to see Cam Newton and Carolina mending their relationship. He was at the game. So things are looking up in Carolina culture right now, which I'm very excited for. Just want to hear your takes on everything, Gareth.
I agree with you, particularly on the Panthers. I think we're headed for a bright future. And this may sound crazy, but I think we're a few just small, very attainable pieces away from being more of a sure playoff team. Like, no, I'm not talking like Super Bowl contender next year, but I'm talking like we are a few key pieces away from, I feel like, being, maybe making the playoffs more comfortably, like an 11-6, 11-6, like 12-5, maybe not 12-5 down, but you know what I'm saying, like 11-6, plus side of 9-8, like, above 500, maybe a few games beyond 500. Like possible aspirations of second weekend success in the NFL or in the NFL playoffs next year. I'm kind of with you there on Bryce Young's arm strength. I do think he's our guy for the future, or at least for the next season or two. He's answered a lot of, outside of the arm strength, he's answered a lot of my questions. He actually handled pressure very well on the latter half of this season, especially in the playoff game. I thought that despite the loss, that playoff game was one of his better performances as a Panther overall. Like, he led several drives that I thought were dead in the water. He made a lot, he looked a lot like Alabama Bryce Young there in that LA game. Now, when it comes to our defense was a little bit of Swiss cheese there. I think there's some pieces we could pick up there, particularly Dave Canales mentioned a pass rusher. I think that would be great. I actually think our secondary did a lot better job than people give them credit for this season. Now, towards the end of the season, they did get that credit they deserved, and I feel like they stepped up in a big way. It's just injuries kind of brought us down there at the end. But what could really kind of bring this defense together as a pass rusher that you can, I've mentioned this with NC State. Any quarterback can pick you apart if you just sit there and drop 8, or if you don't get pressure to the quarterback. Having someone who can get to the quarterback is going to help bolster not only, the defensive line, but it's going to bolster the coverage. It's going to give the opposing quarterback smaller windows, smaller time frames to work with. It's going to speed the game up for opposing quarterbacks, and I think that's going to bode well. Outside of that, I mean, we can go into the specifics of who I want, but I think just some pieces like, a pass rusher, maybe a linebacker, because Carolina is, and this is a take that I think I got it from, I think Cam Newton said this first on his 4th and 1. The Carolina Panthers are always kind of known for having that, when you hear the term field general, you think of a quarterback. But the Carolina Panthers are always known for kind of having that field general like linebacker. I mean, obviously Luke Kuechly is one that comes to mind. I think whether it be through the draft, free agency, or a trade, we need to go get ourselves a field general linebacker or someone who can fill that role.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, I think, maybe a lot of people are saying a vertical, like, another deep threat. I think Coker's fine as a, I think honestly, in my opinion, I think Coker's fine as a deep threat. I do think we need to bring in someone competition wise. I know I've said competition for Bryce Young. I think we need to bring in someone to compete with Xavier Legette. I like him as a player. He works hard, but there's just too many mistakes, man. And I know when you talk about wide receivers, you talk about like the 3rd year rule. And most wide receivers break out in their 3rd year. And Xavier Legette's year is next year, his 3rd year.
Yeah, yeah.
I think, apply a little bit of pressure, kind of make him take the reins up a little bit, possibly get another threat. There's talks that the Panthers might be looking at a wide receiver in the draft, possibly Casey Concepcion, kind of a speedster, kind of a Swiss Army knife guy. You can use him in the backfield. You could put him wherever. I think that'd be a great addition, keep Casey Concepcion home. But as far as the Panthers, that's my take. Other interesting things that I at least mentioned, talking with my girlfriend's family who are Patriots fans, they were talking to me about the Chargers game and how they weren't confident in that. And I said, no, this is the one team you should be confident playing. The Chargers, with their ability to just kind of spiral. And look what
Justin
happened.
Herbert able to win a playoff game? Like,
yeah. Now, it's hard to win when you have negative time to throw and their offensive line was battered. But, the narrative continues with that. Other than that, I mean, it was nice to see the Bears get a win. Like you said, the Bears just continue to find a way. They, the 4th quarter comes around, they decide they need to turn it on. Outside of that, the team I'd say I've been pretty impressed with is the 49ers, actually. The 49ers, they've stepped up in a big way. I thought the 49ers about halfway through the season were a little fraudulent, but, you never know. They look great. That's kind of my 2 cents on what's happened so far. Rams, a little shaky, honestly. I mean, now this is going to be kind of like not counterintuitive, but you know what I'm saying. It kind of like a contradictory statement. You kept it close with the Panthers. Now, were the Panthers good? Could be. Could be that the Panthers are better than their record. Could be, Aiden. Could be.
Could be.
But also, could it be that the Ravens are overrated?
Could it be
and something
that
fraudulent
the Rams are also cancerous?
And fraudulent.
Might be something we'll want to look into.
Oh, I love that. Might be something you want to keep an eye on.
Maybe something you might want to check with the doctor. Keep an eye on it.
Yeah. But no, should we get into some predictions for the next round of the playoffs?
I do want to give a shout out. I want to talk a little bit more about the Bears. I liked this Bears team to face adversity. You're saying that you were a little bit more down on the 49ers. I was a little bit more down on the Bears and their ability to come back against the Packers. Was something that was very I'm going to say, like, not outrageous, but like just it was crazy. It was outrageous just seeing like down like 21-6. I had one of my friends, a big Bears fan, that works with me. I had him basically. I needed to call him up at halftime, like, bro, you good? You good, man? Because all his friends are Packers fans, but it Bears. I really like this offense. Williams was able to produce very well with 361 yards passing. He had 2 pretty bad interceptions, but 2 touchdowns. Love from Green Bay, like he was good. Statistically, very dominant game. 323 passing, 4 touchdowns, no picks whatsoever. But it's just this Packers team just did not have what it takes to like close it out in that 4th quarter, allowing 25 points in the 4th quarter alone, just to give the game away. Colston Loveland, the tight end for the Bears, really good game with 137 yards receiving, and the rush attack with DeAndre Swift coming in clutch at a couple moments really helped solidify this game for the Bears. I'm more confident in them now, and their future in the NFC North than I was 2 weeks ago. I think this team is legit, and I think this team has a lot going for them. Bills, really good game against the Jaguars. I am worried about Josh Allen just because I've been seeing some videos. He took a lot of punishment in this game. This is going to be the time for the Bills to make a Super Bowl run, and you're going to need Josh Allen healthy in this. They have a lot of other good tools. They have good running attack, but you can't live and die by Josh Allen, especially in this playoff where if you're putting him through that much pain and just unnecessary pain, if that makes sense. And with the Texans have a Super Bowl caliber defense. We've known this going into the playoffs. We know they've kind of been bailed out by their defense. C.J. Stroud, he's a good quarterback, but I don't know if he's really put together for a good playoff run. But if this defense can remain healthy going into these next couple games, and if their defense is able to stop Drake May, this is a very dangerous team.
I agree. Shall we get into some predictions now?
Let's get into some predictions, Gareth.
So I think we'll go here in a chronological order, seeing as unfortunately our North Carolina team's no longer with us, but we're still proud of how they played. That was a performance we can be proud of.
Yes.
We'll start tomorrow. Saturday 4:30. We've got Bills and we got Broncos. So this season, I've talked about on the podcast a few times. Clearly analytics aren't going anywhere. I was never a big analytics guy. I thought they were kind of, fugazi, whatever you want to call it, whatever fake Italian pronunciation you want to use, and hand gestures, stuff like that.
Fugazi. Gabagool.
But Aiden and I have been talking how we feel like this Broncos team is pretty fraudulent. And I've tried, and a lot of times, I actually watched a video. I'm blanking on the name of the channel. I wish I could shout them out. But they did this whole thing on, this guy was a Minnesota Vikings fan in 2022. And how he got deep into the analytics is like, how could a team that good get upset in the first round by a team that bad? And he goes, if you look at the deeper analytics, he's like, you can actually kind of predict who these fraudulent teams are without the eye test. He's like, obviously with the eye test, you can kind of tell which teams are fraudulent, which teams are not. But he's like, you can kind of tell which teams have calls kind of go their way. Which teams have been, winning despite, not having a winning formula for their football team. And I've kind of looked into this when it comes to the Broncos, and I've actually been surprised that they statistically are not looking fraudulent, but it still kind of feels that way.
Yes.
It still kind of feels like. Now, I will say, I'll give them the credit where credit is due. They do have one of the best defenses in the NFL. They do some weird things coverage wise. They have some really interesting defenses. They're a solid defensive team. I think of them as a little bit better Texans team. Like, they're a little bit better than the Texans. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now, when it comes down to it in this game, Bills, Broncos, I'm actually going to go in an interesting direction here. Given Josh Allen isn't completely ruled out for the game tomorrow, I'm actually going to side with the Bills here. I just think Josh Allen adds that extra X factor, and he's going to help kind of, almost. And I know there's not a lot. I know I said there's not a lot of improvisation in football, but I think he's going to kind of, help the Bills kind of improv, kind of finagle their way out of like the grasps of this Broncos defense. I just think the Bills already have a solid defense as it is, and I think it's good enough to keep up with the Broncos offense. I think the battle tomorrow is going to come down to, it's going to be Bills offense versus Broncos defense. Like, I think that's where this game's going to be won and lost, is that particular matchup right there. And so in that case, I'm going with the Bills there. I just think the Bills defense is going to do enough to stem the Broncos. Like, Broncos offense, not that hard to stop in my opinion. Honestly, not that hard to stop. So the battle in the gray is going to be Bills offense, Broncos defense, and I'm taking the Bills offense here.
Yeah.
With this one, you do bring up good points. The Bills' defense versus Broncos offense. This Bills' defense is not very good though, and it's a big point of concern for me, especially this late in the season. Like there have been some questionable moments from this Bills defense, but also questionable moments from Bo Nix. I feel like he kind of skates by with his defense, and I think the Bills' offense is better than the Broncos' defense, and I think that's going to be the determining factor in this. If Josh Allen is limited throughout this game, they still have a very solid rushing attack that I feel like can really uh, put them in a good position to win. So I got the Bills winning this one.
Next game we got tomorrow at 8. We've got tomorrow at 8 we've got Seahawks 49ers
Yeah.
for like what, the fourth time this season. This matchup's happened a lot this season, it feels like. This one I'm not quite sure. I need to look back. They've played, I think, twice throughout this season. The 49ers.
Yeah, they have.
Looking back on it, 49ers won the initial matchup 17-13. Then later in the season, where is it?
I think it was the last game.
Last game. The last game was actually 14. Oh, the last game, the Seahawks won 13-3. Their defense really showed out. This is going to be an interesting one. This is one of the ones where I'm kind of actually unsure. But for this one, I'm going to give this one to the Seahawks. And this one, I think the Seahawks defense is, in my mind, just too good. I like this 49ers offense. It's creative. They're good at getting guys in space. They're good at scheming guys open, the whole 9 yards. This Seattle offense has been all right this season, like statistically. Now, when it comes to like the deeper statistics, they've like actually only been the 15th overall offense. They're kind of middle of the pack, but they've been, they have a pretty strong defense, and I like their defense and just kind of their offense overall. I trust it a little bit more than this 49ers offense. 49ers statistically one of the lesser defenses in the league. They're actually a spot behind the Carolina Panthers defense. So in this one, I'm taking the Seahawks. I trust the Seahawks offense and defense more than I trust the 49ers. Not saying they're not a great team, and I don't want to see Brock Purdy get some motion, but I'm going with the Seahawks here.
Yeah, with this matchup, it all really comes down to how are we going to see a playoff Sam Darnold perform, in my opinion. Because he had his chance in Minnesota. He's really kind of redeemed the narrative that he was a bust in the New York Jets. Right now, this game, there's a lot riding on this game right now, and I feel more confident in the San Francisco 49ers offense right now with the tools that they have. And like it or not, like people might say he's overrated. I do think Brock Purdy is still a very good quarterback, especially in this system. Some might call him like a system merchant, but I've seen the difference. He's proven why he's ahead of Mac Jones in this offense right now, and I expect a good performance from this offense. I like Christian McCaffrey to really show off in this game, and I just got to give this one to the 49ers.
Now on to Sunday. We got Texans Patriots and we got Rams Bears. Texans Patriots 3 p.m. I think the Patriots are an exciting team.
Yes.
I feel like they're just a little too volatile for my liking.
Yes.
One of the best offenses in the league. I'll give them that.
Mm-hmm.
But looking at the deeper statistics, and their defense overall has really not been great. Like their defense is actually similar to the 49ers, not the best. I mean, the New England Patriots are still a top half defense, but they're ranked a spot or two ahead of the Bills. That's not really saying a lot. But with that being said, obviously the Texans, they have a Super Bowl caliber defense. In my mind, they are one of the best defenses in, like, I think not NFL history, but I think they're one of the best defenses at least of the last decade. I mean, they are, based off of these statistics. It's crazy. Like, this is going to sound absolutely mind-boggling when I say this, and it's almost going to sound not true. But the more plays an opposing team runs against the Texans defense, the less likely they are to score. And I know that sounds absolutely mind-boggling, but yeah. But for me, I just think with how the Patriots looked a little shaky at home against the Chargers, and Drake May, while exciting and he is a good quarterback, I think there's still a lot of mistakes they need to iron out. And I just remembered his name. The guy, the analytics guy, he also has a great video on actually whether, just the point I'm on, does defense win championships? And what he talked about is obviously in the playoffs, everyone has a good defense. Like, those teams are already all very good. And to be in the playoffs, you kind of already have to have a good defense. And, the whole defense wins championships actually is kind of, not necessarily true. Elite defenses win championships is what he came out to find statistically. And for me, this Texans defense is elite. I think it is. I don't think there's anyone even close to being on their level outside of maybe the Seahawks defense. And the Patriots didn't fare too good against that Chargers defense. Chargers defense, I will give them credit, is a top 10 defense. They sit at around number 8 or 9. But with a defense with how much they struggled against that type of defense, they're going to struggle that much more against the number 1 defense.
Mm-hmm.
I trust this Texans offense a little bit more than I trust that Chargers offense. The line's a little better. I'm not sure I trust Stroud more than I trust Herbert, but I trust that Texans line more than I trust the Chargers line. The Texans aren't riddled by injuries. They may not have, the flashy guys like the Chargers have, but the Texans guys are healthy. They're not flashy. They're healthy. It's a group of guys that's played together. So I'm taking the Texans here, and I apologize to my girlfriend. I'm taking the Texans here big. I think the Texans are going to come into New England. And I think they're going to make a statement.
Yeah, I have the same thought process. Team going to perform in New England, because this is a home game for New England. I think they're like, and I feel like the narratives of like, oh, teams down like from like southern cities don't tend to perform well in like cold outdoor arenas is a little bit overblown. But in playoff, these little minute details, they matter. They do matter. I just like this Texans defense a lot. If CJ Stroud can get out of his own way, I think he can lead the Texans to a victory. I just. You see, the thing is with the AFC, I see a lot more flaws than like the NFC right now, because like every AFC team has more apparent flaws than the NFC, in my opinion. So I think my main gripe with New England is how are they going to perform in, I guess, this playoff scenario with a young quarterback. I like Drake May a lot. He's a NFL MVP contender right now, so he's good. They've kind of been, I guess, regular season week schedule merchants. Kind of had a weak schedule, but it doesn't matter if they can pull it out in the end. But
It's just going to have to come down to how Drake May responds and this offense responds to this elite Texans defense, and I'm going to have to go with the Texans on this one.
Yeah, and I just want to say two quick things before we move on. In defense of the Patriots, Aiden and I have been a big proponent of this, particularly in college football and college basketball. At some point, you just kind of have to play the field. When it comes
Yeah.
to talking about, yes, the Patriots have one of the easiest schedules since the 1970s. I thought at that point, you just got to play your schedule. I know that sounds like a coping
Literally,
mechanism, but
like
yeah,
in the NFL is one of the only is one of those leagues where the schedule is just dictated for you, like mathematically speaking. Like
yeah,
it's set every single year of like who you're going to be playing based on like which divisions are going to be facing each other. One year is going to be like, oh, all the NFC East teams are going to be playing AFC West teams. Like that's just how it is. And sometimes statistically, you're just going to get something like this, and it's really no fault of the teams because they don't pick it. It's dictated by the league.
yeah. And the final point I'd like to make when talking about all the points I made in the influencer I talked about, his name's Michael McKelvey. He's got some really good videos that you should check out when it comes to like sports analytics. He has a lot of stuff about the draft. I'm probably going to reference him when we talk about the draft. He goes in, not, and I don't mean just like the next gen stats, like, oh, like, go for it on fourth down, but he talks about like the statistics behind drafting and that type of stuff. He goes into really some deep, interesting stuff. So before I, completely plagiarize his ideas, I'd like to shout him out and say I pull some stuff from Michael McKelvey. He's worth a watch on YouTube.
Yes.
Now, with that being said, we will head into the final matchup of Sunday, which I believe is the
Bears,
Rams
Rams.
and the Bears. Fraud versus fraud. Sorry, I mean fraud versus cardiac bears.
I mean, I'm
Bears.
going with the Bears on this one.
The Bears. I'm going with the Bears.
The Bears, if they could keep okay, I want to say this first. I like Matthew Stafford a lot. I think this Rams offense is very elite, but their defense is sus. It's a little. Is their defense imposter, Garrett? It might be the
I mean,
imposter.
they strictly run zone coverage, and then there's nothing inherently wrong with zone coverage if you disguise it and run it properly and can
Not
get
that there's
rushers
anything
home.
wrong with that.
But like the way they've run zone coverage the past couple games, they've just kind of sat back. I mean, you made Bryce. I mean, and he could be like the joke's probably going to come back. Could be Bryce Young's a cook. Could be he was in the kitchen cooking.
Could be something.
Could be something to look into. Could be something to look into. Could Bryce Young be an absolute chef? He's in the kitchen. He's cooking. He doesn't know what he's making yet.
Yeah.
Could be.
Could be.
Or is their defense fraudulent? Something to keep an eye on. Could be.
Maybe inspected by a doctor or something.
Yeah. Just with how now, and I'm sure the Rams have been watching film and know, like, hey, we can't sit back like that. Like Bryce Young, absolutely had a field day. Like I'm saying, would have been good. Could just be good. But against Caleb Williams, you definitely cannot just sit back in the zone. Like he has finally adjusted to the NFL. He is going to like absolutely sushi chef your defense if you just sit back and drop 8, like you did against the Panthers.
Yeah.
And I trust the Bears. The Panthers' offensive line's not bad, but I trust this Bears' offensive line a little bit more than the Panthers. And if you weren't able to get home against the Panthers' offensive line, you sure as hell are not getting home against the Bears' offensive line. So give me the Bears in this.
Yeah. I got the Bears as well. I like this team a lot. Shout out to DJ Moore. I miss you, man. It pains me to see him catching touchdowns in clutch moments for the Bears. But, I mean, I like this offense a lot. Williams is really able to produce. I like this environment in Chicago. I think it's going to be a very uncomfortable environment for LA. LA is Matcher Predictor has them winning 61.3%. I have to disagree with it.
We call bullshit.
I mean, NBC, Sunday Night Football. I I got to go with the Bears.
I gotta agree. I just think there's too much going for the Bears. Too much going
Yes.
for the Bears.
Too much. Too much.
But with that being said, that's all we got for the NFL this week. We'll come back at you next week with some conference championship predictions. Who's
Yeah.
going to the conference championship? But without further ado, we will move into some college basketball. Who, since our last video, there's been a lot of shuffling, a lot of a
I
lot's
called my
happened.
happening guy. He was talking to me.
For once, our happening guy was talking to us. But
But
no, where do we start? Do we just start with the local teams and work our way from there to some of the more interesting matchups?
yeah. I mean, let's just keep it. Let's keep it in the ACC for right now. So looking at the ACC right now, pulling up the standings, we got Duke at number one. They've been looking pretty elite as of late. Clemson, uh, undefeated in conference play as well. They're 15-3. We got Miami, who's been performing well. UVA is rounding out the 4 spot. NC State is at 5. Then you got Syracuse, Stanford, SMU. North Carolina is 2-2 right now. They're in a tough situation right now. Kind of been a little bit disappointing in conference play. I did not expect this, but it's early in conference play, so I'm not sounding the alarm yet. But and then after that, you got your Virginia Techs, your Louisvilles, Notre Dame, Wake Forest, Pitt, Cal, Georgia Tech, Boston College, and Florida State.
Yeah,
So
it's
I do have to say the ACC is back, though.
yeah, they are.
And so it's like I think we've said it before in a couple podcasts before. People aren't high like people are saying, "Oh, they're just better than last year." No, I think the ACC is in full swing right now. You got almost 9, 10 teams that you could make a very valid case for making the tournament right now.
Yeah, no, I think this is I think this is going to be a very deserved, like at least 8-bid league at the very
Yes.
least.
Yes.
But no, are there any specific games you want to get into?
I mean, right now,
Narratives, takes.
recently with UNC, their 2 conference losses coming to SMU and Stanford. They've just kind of come out in conference play a little bit flat. After ECU, I've not been impressed with their conference play. A good win against FSU, but FSU has been a little bit dicey. A very close win against Wake Forest, and then your 2 losses coming to SMU, which was on the road. I was gonna give them that one because listen, I told Garrett this. I forgot they had a game that day, and they might have forgotten as well. And
That day
SMU
was
was
bad
hot.
for state too.
SMU
That
was
day was
just
bad.
hot that day. They were just shooting lights out. And sometimes in the ACC, if your opponent's shooting lights out, the best you can do is just kind of maintain and try to keep it close. And that was just SMU's day. Stanford, I was a little bit more concerned of because UNC started off that game pretty hot, but the defensive performance of UNC has been kind of lackluster to the point where when they have these big leads, Stanford just comes right back and is putting UNC in some very awkward positions. And you saw some of that in the Wake Forest game. UNC able to get by with some of the talent behind Caleb Williams, Caleb Wilson, and Kyan Evans, and Visar. But I need to see a little bit more defensive production from UNC right now. Um, we got a couple games on the horizon that should be get right games. Cal and Notre Dame aren't the most formidable ACC foes, but you never know with the ACC. And like we've said before, sometimes it's just who wants it more on a Tuesday night. It's raining. The students aren't even there. It's on ACC Network 2. I didn't even know they made a sequel. But like sometimes it's coming out in those games strong that really separates you from the other teams. So I'm a little bit concerned right now. If I had to, we've seen on social media like the on a scale from 1 to 10, how alarmed are you? I'm putting it at like a 6.
right now. 1 being not alarmed, 5 being like average alarm, 10 being like panicking. I'm at like a 6 right now, a little bit above average, but hey, stay the course. There's still a lot of season left.
Yeah. I'm in a similar spot with State, and this is going to sound weird. I think NC State and UNC's teams are very similar. Their flaws are very similar, and their strengths are very similar. One, strengths, incredibly exciting offensive. Like, social media has been all over saying these are two of the most entertaining teams to watch right now play. You know, they move the ball well. They've got exciting freshmen. They've got exciting young players. And they've also got, more established, more senior talent on these teams. Both these teams were really good in the portal. And they've kind of, not rocky starts, but they've been inconsistent at best. Obviously, particularly NC State, we had kind of that rough game against Virginia. That Virginia game was just, it's similar to, I forgot they had a game that day, and apparently they did too. But that game, I will give them props for fighting back. State was down 20 at the half, and then not even 4 minutes into the second half, we were down 4. So props for fighting back. And then last 5 minutes, they just kind of fell apart. It hovered around kind of that 4 to 5 point deficit for most of that second half. And then it was just UVA kind of pulled away at the end. But similar to UNC, I think their defensive woes are the same. I mean, after talking with Aiden, both teams have a propensity to lock down the opponent's stars really well. And then some no-name guy off the bench who doesn't have a scholarship drops 45 and is never heard from again. Like,
we'll see a TikTok
for instance,
on him in like 5 years.
Going, oh, do you remember that guy's game against NC State? Do you remember that guy's game against UNC?
Whatever happened to the guy that scored 50 points on NC State? This is Larry McBuckets, and he sells car insurance now.
I forget what game is it. It was like the Virginia game was obviously one of them, but it was like, it was the Kansas game. It was like a guy who's barely on scholarship, like dropped 40. Like the big, so the one big controversial thing for the NC State game was Paul Mbaya. He decommitted from NC State, flipped to Kansas. Of course, that dude was locked down. He had like 6 points, and like 4 of them were free throws. Rightfully so. Lock his ass down. Show him what's up. Kansas's leading scorer, locked up. Where is it? Hold on. Where is he? Melvin Council Jr.
Who?
Huh? Senior. Never really played much for him. 33 points. 6 rebounds. 9 straight made threes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the fuck you gonna do when Marty McBuckets,
Larry
when Marty on the when Marty on the edge of the bench decides to become Marty McBuckets and make a program record 9 straight threes without a miss, the fuck you gonna do? Like Aiden was saying, sometimes in the ACC, if the other team's just shooting like beyond 50% from 3, the best thing to do is just start worrying about the next game.
Hey,
like, brother, it's not your night. Take your
whoopings. Take your whoopings.
But no, after the Virginia game, nice bounce back. I went to the NC State Boston College game. That looked good. The main woe about NC State, and I'm borrowing this from Ryan Hammer. Aiden and I love Ryan Hammer on here, Mr. Trapezoid of Excellence. That's not his only thing. That's just what he's well known for. He's like made merch for it, but like that was his first claim to fame was the Trapezoid. But
yeah,
he is one of the few content creators that has like been who's always kind of like he's intrigued by State. He doesn't like State, but he's always intrigued by them.
yes.
He said the main thing with this NC State team, and I agree with him. Their struggle this season has been their rotations on defense. And he said the good thing about this is it's something that's very fixable. The games that NC State has lost, he goes, it's because the defensive rotations haven't been, timely. And a lot of it is just like miscommunication on defense. And he goes, that's something that's going to get ironed out as this team gets more experience playing together. He goes, that's what happens when you return 1 out of 14 players. You're going to have these communication issues. But what I've noticed and what he has noticed in the last couple of games for State is the defensive rotations kind of, they've still not been on time, but they've been more on time. They've been closing people down. Boston College, objectively good game for State. I mean, they won by 8, but it's on the road. Still some of the old struggles. They had some no name, no scholarship, go for like 25 points. Bro's going to get offered in the portal because of that game. Then we have the Florida State game, the one I want to talk about for a second. That is the most points scored by an away team, by an away ACC team in any ACC game in over 56 years. Now, I'm not out here saying Florida State's a good team at all.
Not.
They are not. They are a volatile team. I mean, they took Duke to the brink. They lost to Duke by 4. But I won't say program record 19 threes in a game. That's got to feel good. Florida State Stadium has not somewhere historically NC State where the rims have been, favorable. It seems like there's a lid on the back. Outside of this game, every time we've played at Florida State, and in my memory, it has felt like there's been lids on the fucking basket. Like, it feels like there's been the wrong end of the magnet, and it's like anytime the ball goes near, it's like pushes the ball away. This time, not so much. They look good. Defensive rotations look great. Overall, what I will say and what I have liked is Terrence Arsenault. I've been very critical of him. We paid a whole lot of money to bring him here, and he's kind of been absent. But past 2 games, double digits both times. Dude has a kid. Maybe it's that. I've been hearing a lot. Obviously, we're still very, very young guys. But I hear from my older coworkers like, oh, this dad strength. Even if you you work out in the gym or you're not that athletic, it's just this dad strength. You just acquire this. Maybe he's like, he's having a son soon. Maybe the dad strength is coming. Maybe it's like, next year when we have him, after his son's
ideas on how I hit my new PR, Gareth. Do not give me new ideas. I do not need that right now.
But no, I feel like I need to give my shout outs to Terrence Arsenault. He has, despite all the noise, he has broken out a little. I'm not saying he's back, because it's been 2 games, but he's broken out a little, and it's nice to see. Bad strength? Could be. You never know. NC State's next couple games, we've got Georgia Tech. Of course, we're playing freaking Georgia Tech in January. I mean, it's not February. At least it's not February. If this were February, I'd be chalking this up to a loss. I'd be chalking this up to a loss. And at least it's on a Saturday. It's not on a Tuesday. It's on a Saturday. Aiden's like, oh, man. I'm going to take NC State in this one. They're a peculiar team. They fight hard. I mean, they took Duke to the brink, but I think I'm going to take NC State here. It's at home. Things are defensive quirks are starting to work their stuff out for NC State, so I'm taking State in this. After that, I don't know as far as schedule goes. Who they have after that. I think the Carolina game's coming up somewhat soon.
It's February 17th.
The first one. Jesus Christ.
The NC State Carolina?
Oh, wait, yeah, they only play once this year.
They
Thanks,
only play
Boo
once.
Corrigan. I hate that. But, that's crazy late. I mean, so after that, we play Clemson on the road. That could get ugly for either team. But I guess my main concern about NC State right now is, and this could be a glass half full, half empty issue. And I've been looking at some of the statistics. And ESPN and all these outlets have kind of grouped them into this category. Now, and you can look at this category, anyway, and teams in this category, they said, are some of the most entertaining to watch at the very least. They've labeled NC State, no lead is safe for either team. And I think Aiden feels a similar sentiment about Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
NC State goes on the most 10-0 plus runs of the best of them. They're in like top 5 in 10-0 runs. They're also in the top 10 of giving up 10-point runs. So they're in this kind of no lead is safe area. And this does produce some interesting, really frisky teams in March. But that's something I want to see under control. Like that's something I want to see them get under control. I mean, statistically, I'm looking at the net ratings here. I mean, NC State and Carolina are almost dead even in the net rankings right now. NC State's 29, Carolina's 30. Hold on, I'm looking at it. Yeah, I mean, I think this is the highest we've had a lot of teams recently. I will say I think NC State's going to work out its quirks. If you look at the stats, they're pointing towards like, what I mean by mean regression is like NC State outside of the defensive aspect is playing the right way. It's just it hasn't come to fruition yet.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's teams like, for instance, where are they? A team with a similar record, Colorado. They have a better record than NC State, but they're 70th in the net, which based off of a variety of factors makes them seem to think that's, hey, don't trust this. They're not as good as their record suggests. Or if depending on who you are, that's perfectly ready. They're kind of, middle of the pack team. But obviously, when it comes to State, I'd like to see them, kind of go on a run. It's kind of, I forget what Ovius and Giglio called this point of the season. But it's that point in the season where the games don't matter, or no, it's the lose part of the season. These games aren't necessarily particularly interesting to play, but God forbid you lose one.
Yes.
God forbid.
Yes.
Now, not all of these teams NC State's playing in this stretch are bad, but it's not particularly fun stretch.
Mm-hmm.
At home, you don't. All your home games are against teams that you should beat.
Yeah.
All of your away teams are big challenges. Like Clemson, I'm not sure if we're beating Clemson on the road. I'm leaning towards I haven't done enough research on this Clemson team. And I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself on the predictions. I haven't done a whole lot of research on this Clemson team. I'm being just completely honest. They're ranked highly. Their ACC record's good. But in the net rankings, you know where they are? Despite this, they're one spot ahead of State and Carolina. They're one spot ahead. So that's where I am on NC State. I think they're going to make the tournament, obviously. I'm very, happy or somewhat satisfied with how the season's gone. There's obviously things I would like to have them seen done better. But I think that's with any team. And unless you're one of the undefeated teams, I think that's obviously where everyone is right now.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the team I don't really want to talk about. Providence. Jesus fucking Christ.
Good win today, though.
Here. Oh, yeah. Good win today. Hold on. Let me change my hat. Just fair. Good win today against Creighton. Now, I will say, does Creighton particularly have a very good record at Providence? No, it's bad. Greg McDermott struggles to win at Providence. Of the 13 times he's played Providence in Rhode Island, he's like 4-9 or 3-10, even when they've been bad Providence teams. Like the dunk is where Greg McDermott teams go to die. That's all I'm saying. The dunk is where Greg McDermott teams go to die. Now, on the whole, I'm not going to go ahead and say Kim English needs to be fired now, but brother, that seat's getting warm. Kim English has got some swamp ass from how hot his seat is right now. He has been ranked as the number 2 coach on the hot seat. As in, he has the second hottest seat. Providence currently sitting at 9-9, 2-5 in conference. Where are they in the net? I don't even know if they're on the first fucking page. I may have to even. Oh, they're 86th. The net hasn't updated for today. Yeah. I mean, Providence has something State doesn't, a quad 1 win, but that's State hasn't played many quad 1 games yet. Providence.
I mean, they played a good amount, but they just lost them.
It was some tough matchups though. Where meanwhile Providence is like a lot of their quad one wins are on the road getting fucking absolutely booty blasted. You know, Providence did play Florida. It was ugly, but as far as Providence this season's been going, I really don't know where to begin. I mean, obviously, I was feeling okay going into conference play. I mean, not the best. I mean, when you lose to Colorado of all people by 9, when you lose to Virginia Tech after choking away a double-digit lead, that's not going to feel great. You know, losing to Wisconsin by 104 because you by 104 to 83 because you can't play defense. Same thing with Florida. You lose by 12, no interior defense. You blow out FDU, you blow out URI, you beat Brown by 8. You lose to Butler because you can't hold on to a lead in overtime. You lose to Seton Hall by 5. And this is a Seton Hall team that's absolutely shocked everyone. You know, they beat a bunch of ranked teams. They beat NC State. They took UConn on the road to overtime. Like, this is a solid team. I think Seton Hall is my dark horse to win the Big East right now. You beat a ranked St. John's on the road. So I'm at this point in the season, I was like New Year's Day, Gareth was confused. Gareth was feeling very conflicted about this Providence team. You know, you struggle to beat Brown. You get absolutely fucking blown out by an okay Wisconsin team. And then you beat St. John's by 6 on the road. You then come home and lose to You then come home and lose to UConn after blowing a 15-point lead against UConn, 12 of which came in the final 2:04. Because, again, you can't play defense. You lose to Xavier by 13 on the road. You have a comeback against Villanova spoiled, who you were down to by 20. And then you beat Creighton today. Like, what's going on? And yes, this is not the same Creighton as, of old. They don't have their guards. You don't have Steve. Oh, God, what's his name? Steve something. I mean, obviously Ryan Kalkbrenner, that 7-foot, and Stephen Ashworth. You don't have your lights out shooter, Stephen Ashworth. You don't have your other guys. Yeah, this has been rough. I mean, looking at, the trapezoid of excellence, Providence is nowhere near the trapezoid. NC State's somewhat close. NC State's kind of on the boundary, but a little bit. They're on the inconsistent side of it. But Carolina's up there too, near it. But then the trapezoid's here. State and Carolina are off here. They're a little bit too much more on the volatile side. But they're still they still have the right metrics. They just need to clean some things up. Providence is down here. They're not even on the screen.
Yeah.
Offensively, believe it or not, Providence statistically has a better offense than NC State. And you're saying, Gareth, NC State just dropped 113 on the road in conference play. The hell are you talking about?
Against FSU, Gareth. Against FSU.
Yes, but still, Providence has been playing a lot worse competition. And this is even adjusted for opponent. You get what I'm saying? This is adjusted for opponents.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, Providence's defense has been the issue.
Yes.
Like, NC State's defensive issues are you can't guard the 3. And to a point, I'm like, you know what? If a team can... I'm of the mind of my rec basketball coach from when I was 12. If a team can beat you living off the 3, they're either lucky or they deserve to beat you. That's one of two things. They're either that good at hitting 3s, or that's just the day they should have went to the casino instead.
Mm-hmm.
Quoting my great Salvation Army basketball coach. They're either that good or the brother needs to go to the casino the second the game's over. Providence, their post defense is non-existent. And I like their post player. Oswin Arunse, he's a good defender on paper. I've seen him make good plays. He has grown. It's just when Arunse's not in the game, there's no like guy to pick up the slack. And you can't have Arunse play 40 minutes a game. That's just not a winning recipe. Like, we saw why that wasn't a winning recipe Kim English's first year. Devin Carter ended up hurt. Josh Oduro ended up hurt. And that ended up costing us later in the Big East tournament. I want to like Kim English. I think he is a great coach. And he is one of my favorite coaches to watch coach, to hear him talk about the game, because he clearly knows what he's talking about. So before I sit here and say that I think Kim English should be on the hot seat, I'm going to give him my due diligence. He is an entertaining coach to watch. His offensive brand of basketball works. As much as people want to hate on it, that 4-out space and pace offense does work. Very similar to the offense NC State runs, very similar to the offense Carolina runs. That 4-out space and pace. You love it. It's entertaining. It gets open buckets. You know how to generate offense. It's how this Providence team plays deep. This is where my issue with Kim English comes in. He is supposedly one of the best defensive minds of this age when it comes to college basketball. He is this defensive first guru. We saw that his first year. Providence very much had that same identity they had under Cooley. Providence was okay winning 58-55 in an absolute slugfest where teams are shooting 10%. They are fine with that. They are fine with a fucking fist fight. This Providence team this year looks like they run the other direction when they see a fist fight. There's no real dogs when it comes to defense. When it comes to offense, sure, there's dogs. They got guys who can get a tough bucket and they're not afraid of contact. The problem is these guys seem to be afraid of contact on the defensive end, which is where I'm like, what? Come on. This used to be the identity of this team. We were a defense-first team. You did not want to come play Providence, not because of, they're going to outshoot you. No, they're going to beat the shit out of you on the defensive end in a legal way. You know, they play straight up defense, but they play physical. Yes. They play physical without being overly aggressive. That's not what I'm seeing. This is a very un-Big East, non-Providence team.
Yeah.
Now, they have an opportunity to get right. They play Marquette. They play Marquette on Monday. I mean, I'll be watching. But yes. I call it. This Marquette team sucks. They're 6-13. This happens to every Shaka Smart team. He gets hired off of his accolades from 5 years ago. Every Shaka Smart team they take over, they're hot. You know, his 5-out offense is humming because, you know, that league hasn't seen it. And then everyone's like, wow, you know, if we just play sound defense, the 5-out, like, Aiden, you can vouch for this. I beat this horse to a bloody pulp. Shaka Smart's 5-out offense isn't hard to stop.
Yes.
You've heard me say this for 5 years now. But I like this Providence team. I'm still going to watch it. It is still early enough in the season where if they go on, get hot, they can still make the tournament. Now, they're going to need to win some tough games to get in at large. They're going to need to win some tough games. Like I'm talking, they're going to need to win at Seton Hall. They're going to need to win at UConn. They cannot afford to drop a game to a Xavier. And this is a Xavier team that has been blown out by some pretty awful teams. And I'm not saying it's because Xavier's a bad team. Xavier's a young team. They've got a new coach. They've got Rick Pitino Jr. coaching. That team's going to be good in a few years, just not right now. So Xavier is just in a trusting the process mode. Providence, this is do or die. I think if Kim English cannot get them into the tournament this year, he needs to be done as a Providence coach. I'm not saying done from coaching. I think he has his place. I just think Providence jumped the gun a little bit on hiring him. Not the best pan out. Providence has shown its flashes. Obviously, the UConn game. Obviously, coming back from down 20 against Villanova. You know, at points, you were neck and neck with Florida. You've beaten Creighton. You've beaten St. John's. This team, for as much as people say, you know, NC State and some of these struggling ACC teams need to find an identity, these kind of, you know, underperforming ACC teams at least have an identity. This Providence team just looks like a pickup game at the Y. at times. You either
Yes.
have a day or you don't. That's all I'm saying about that. But yeah. Any other teams you want to touch on? Some teams that have surprised you, at least ACC wise.
ACC
Teams that haven't
wise, I
surprised you.
mean, Miami has been performing very well in spite of my expectations. Starting off conference play really well. Not the hardest slate to start off with, but Pitt, Wake Forest, Georgia Tech, and Notre Dame, all pretty solid wins. They're going to have a real test on the road against Clemson. This is going to be a good prove yourself game for both teams. So you got to keep your eye on that. I'm leaning towards Clemson on this one. This Clemson team does have a pretty solid resume. Uh, uh, with a good win against SMU and some tough losses to Alabama and BYU and Georgetown. But after that, they really kind of have started to hit their stride. And I'm really liking this SMU win for this Clemson team. So that's going to be a good game to look forward to. Let's see, in the ACC, Duke obviously remains dominant. Um, Syracuse has been also kind of going past my expectations. Had a rough 3 game slate against Big 12 teams, Houston, Kansas, and Iowa State, but then went on a little bit of a streak. A questionable loss against Hofstra, but wins against Georgia Tech, Pitt, and FSU. They're sitting at an okay spot right now, but they have Boston College and Virginia Tech coming up on the horizon. These are going to be must-win games for them, and eventually a Miami team that's been giving a lot of people fits. So keep an eye out for the Syracuse team. Uh, and let's see, any other ACC standouts that I see? UVA is obviously another one of those teams. They just look really good. Wins against Louisville, Stanford, Cal, NC State. Uh, Questionable loss against Virginia Tech, but they got
Rival.
SMU, who's a tough team coming up. So, going to keep your eye on that. SMU, when they get hot, as we've seen against UNC, they get hot. So, this is going to be another good game to watch this weekend. Keep your eyes on that. With UNC this weekend, we're going to be playing at Cal. Um, I I'm leaning towards UNC in this matchup, but UNC's got to get their stuff together right now. I mean, you can't go into January with as good as a season as you had, and then coming off with 2 losses so far. They really need to start picking up the production, and I think they're going to start picking it up against this Cal team. This Cal team has been flying a little bit under the radar. They started off the season pretty hot, but have kind of caught a little bit of a cold streak with conference play starting. Had a rough slate of games, so I think the truth of Cal has started to been revealed a little bit, but they're not a team that you should completely look down upon right now. Um, I think that's pretty much my ACC rundown of big standouts. Obviously, SMU has been one of those hit or miss teams, but they're looking pretty good. This is a very stacked ACC division that I'm liking right now.
I am too. This is the ACC we grew up with. Like you've got elite teams like Virginia who aren't even in the one spot. Like it
Yep.
is. This is going to be a several bid league. Now, in my opinion, I like Clemson, but I just have a gut feeling they're going to fall off in my mind.
Yeah.
I like their turnover ratio. They play good defense and they're very clean. It's just for me, their shooting leaves it to be desired. Like for me, their ceiling is how well they shoot the ball, and sometimes that's not great. Sometimes it is really good, but they are led by the strength of their defense. At the end of the day, they could be a solid team. For me, a team that's kind of shocked me is Pitt. Usually they're a little bit more closer towards the top of the ACC, and then they fall off. But maybe we'll see a little bit of mean regression there. Wake Forest, no surprises from me. That's it's. I was a little high on them, but then I'm like, wait, this is Wake Forest. Steve Forbes could have the entire world, still wouldn't succeed. Miami, I'm not surprised. I actually predicted this. I thought Miami was gonna have a huge bounce back. They got an assistant coach from Duke. I'm blanking on his name right now, but they've looked really good. I know, like you said, haven't played a whole lot of people, but for a first-year head coach, 4-0 in the ACC is 4-0. You can't argue with that for right now.
Yep.
Obviously, SMU, Virginia Tech, they're another team where I'm like, just what the fuck? What's going on? A better what the fuck's going on than Providence, but they're still a what the fuck's going on game in my mind. It's like I like their energy. I like the way they play, but just not entirely sold. Florida State's another one that surprised me. That's just like they were all right last year, but this is just terrible. Like they're not very good. This is going back to like old school Florida State when they first joined the ACC in basketball. They're looking at like they're probably, in my mind, I think they're missing the ACC tournament. I'm sorry. Like I'm gonna go ahead and say it. They're missing the ACC.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to say for college basketball?
No, I'm good.
I'm good as well. I think that'll do it for us tonight. Obviously, at the National Championship Monday, you'll hear our thoughts on that next week. You hear our thoughts in some of the NFL games. College basketball, you hear some of our thoughts on that as well. As we kind of, as this NFL season winds down, I've been watching a good amount of college basketball, but we're not at the point in the year where I know a lot about every team. But by about February, Aiden and I have a general idea of each ACC team. But we're only 4 or 5 games in the ACC play. Aiden and I haven't had a chance to watch every team, so season's still pretty young for us.
Yeah.
But we appreciate y'all listening in. Back after a little bit of a hiatus. We'll leave you with one thing. A quote Aiden and I have kind of come up with over the last few days, and we've thought, it could be a little corny to end with it, but seeing as the whole world's kind of been big Fernando Mendoza fans, but we'll clip this and make this our clip for the week. In a world full of Carson Becks, just kind of people like that. In a world full of Carson Becks, be a Fernando Mendoza. With that being said, we appreciate you guys listening in, and we will see you guys next week.